Hello, everyone. Welcome back to season 9 of the Education Concierge Podcast. You know who I am. My name is Benita G. I'm the Education Concierge. Look, oh, thank you for coming. I want you to pick up your pen and your notebook, get your favorite drink. I have mine. Okay. Today it is some apple ginger ale, something. I don't know. Ginger ale, something cherry. I don't know, something like that. Get it because we're about to take you to school, but not a regular school. Okay. Because we know we do innovation, education, we explore all the options. We have an amazing founder, businesswoman, entrepreneur, edupreneur with us today because everybody knows that we are in a time where we're making access to education affordable, we're making it available, and we're making sure that we are doing the best we can with what we have. And at times that means we're moving your child from the school that is their zone school to a school that is correct for them. Well, come on now. Oh, that was good. Okay, so let me bring her in. Y'all know how we do when she comes in. We're gonna welcome her like only the TEC family does. Here she is. Y'all know I gotta click the button. Welcome,
Benita.
welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So this is what we do here. Miss Amanda, my name is Benita G. You know that. We're good friends, y'all. Y'all have no idea. And I am a good old country girl from Lawrenceville, Virginia. And in the country, and in the South, you come in, you take your shoes off at the door, and you go wash your hands in the guest bathroom, not my kitchen sink. And you sit at the table because you're a guest. We make you a plate of all the good things that we don't need to eat every day, but on Sunday and holidays we eat. And we make you a tall glass of cold, sweet iced tea because here at TEC we believe that unsweet tea is a blasphemy, and we just don't do it. Welcome. After today, you are no longer a guest; you are family. So next time you come on, you have to make your own plate. You wash your hands in the kitchen sink because you're not cooking. Please introduce yourself to our family, to your family, and tell us about who you are, what's your work, and your why.
Okay. So I'm happy to be here. So happy. I'm already family. Okay. I'm gonna help you cook. I am Amanda Lucas. I'm the founder of Lucas Literacy Lab. That's a micro school in Old Bridge, New Jersey. And we are Christian. I serve ages 6 to 12. This is my first year in business here in New Jersey. I came from New York, where I had a micro school pod in my home. Before that, I was in the traditional schools, like most of us, working and feeling unfulfilled. So, yeah, so I actually came to this really a lot differently than other people did. Can I get into that? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so I came to micro schooling and to homeschooling in general, like, it wasn't like I was in the school system and I said, you know what, this is too much. I'm going to leave. I'm just going to start something new. I dreamt of it, but I had no idea where to start. I didn't even know it was possible to do that. So when I was during the pandemic, my husband and myself and my daughters, we sat down to have a conversation about Benita. Are you with me?
I'm still here.
We sat down to have a conversation about the possibility of homeschooling my kids because at the time, my oldest daughter had what's called an AVM in her brain. So it's like a tangle of the veins, and she needed brain surgery. And she was just in the hospital for about a year, in and out. And at the same time, my youngest was diagnosed with epilepsy. So she was also in the hospital a lot, getting tested. And so we made the decision to homeschool because of that, not because I was sick of the system. I probably would have still been in the system if that didn't happen. And then COVID happened. And so I was homeschooling the girls. And in the midst of all the drama, like COVID and medical stuff, and it was just a lot, homeschool was the best educational experience I had because we got into like really deep unit studies. I was able to choose the curriculum. It was just so dynamic and so fun. And I was like, man, all these kids that are in school are missing out on this. Like, and my kids were missing out on it. I was missing out on it because when you pull yourself out of that system, you're not the all-knowing figure at the front of the classroom. You become one of the students. I was learning with my kids. I was like, okay, when we're choosing curriculum, what do I want to learn? What do they want to learn? What can we learn together? I don't have the answers. But then it gives the kids the opportunity to figure it out, learn how to learn, right? So we were having so much fun doing it, but they were missing like friends. And so my first thing was like, okay, let me just put them in some extracurriculars. So they were in theater and they were in boxing and they were in swim, but none of those gave them that same feeling of like having their friends that they saw every day. It was like an hour a week and they were doing something, so they couldn't like socialize and problem solve and like get into trouble. They couldn't do that. So I started a pod in my house, and that was even more fun because
Tell us what a pod is, because sometimes we have listeners who do not have all of the terminology.
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you what it looked like. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a little classroom for the kids in my house. And my husband was like, no, you're not. I had just finished like redecorating. The living room was beautiful. Okay. I used to just take pictures just to look at them. I used to just stand in the entry of the door of the living room. It was beautiful. I had glass furniture. I had like everything was like, it was just not suitable for children. Okay.
And now we understand what a husband was like.
He was like, I don't want you to get rid of this. Like, we had a white rug, we had fur stuff. Yeah. He was like, no. And he was like, I love coming home. I like the way this looks. I don't want you to get rid of this. I was like, okay, all right, let me see what I could do. Cause I really want to do this, but I respect him. This is his house.
Yes.
So we had a pretty big living room. So I took the couch and moved it to the middle of the living room. We still had so much room. And I like made a separate space behind the couch. And behind the couch, I put like a little rug for the kids and a little table. And I had a bookshelf and a whiteboard and a cork board. And then I had like little shelves with like, their manipulatives and their toys. And this is all behind the couch. And I put a gate up in my kitchen so they couldn't get in. And I because I had littles at the time. And I got some cots for them to lay on.
Yep.
And I had one glass table. I just took it apart and put it in the basement. We had a basement in New York. But I took it apart and put it in the basement. And he came and I was like, look, everything is the same except the coffee table. Like, it's the same. Look, when you don't even see the classroom. It's behind the couch. You can't see it. We're good. So he came home and he was like, okay, all right, so I'll give it a shot. So we started with my kids. Well, my oldest was like on online school, and my little one, I started with her. So I chose curriculum for her, and then we had one family friend, and they were just doing things together. And I was posting on my personal page like what we were doing, like all this hands-on fun stuff.
Yeah.
I was the limit. I could do anything I want. I took them everywhere. We were like, the kids came in and it would be a rainy day, or they had like they didn't get good sleep, and I'll be like, all right, let's take a nap.
Yes.
And then I'll read to you. You can have a snack. You can have a snack whenever you want it. Like, you hungry?
Oh man.
You want you have a stomach ache? Go to the bed. Like, I'm not good. You whatever. Like, you're home. This was home, right? So it felt like, my kids, we would go out in the rain. We would go out in the snow. And then their parents sent them with a change of clothes, and I would wash their clothes downstairs in the washer dryer. They would go home with new, like, their stuff was clean. And whatever they came with is what they changed into. They went home with clean stuff. They would come back in. They're changing the bathroom. I'll wash their stuff, and then they would make their own snack. They would go bake together.
Mhm.
I was cooking full dinner for lunch. I was making rice and beans and chicken and all kinds of stuff for them, like pasta, whatever. Like, obviously, like, the parents would tell me none of them had any issues. Like,
Right.
but they were cared for, right? They were cared for. It was like the education, what they were getting from the curriculum was just like the cherry on top. You know what I mean? Because they were seen and loved and safe, and like fully known. So I was posting this stuff with just the first two kids, and then a few different people started being like, hey, you got some room? Yeah, of course. Like, come on, let's go. So the first year I had a little group of 5 kids. It's a pod. I didn't even know it was called a pod. That's what everybody started calling it during the
Yes.
pandemic pod. So I had a little group of 5 kids, which was a nice size group. Like we could go anywhere. We would just go do nature walks and picnics in the backyard and academics at that age, because this was like preschool age. So academics at that age took 1 hour with all 5 kids, with all of them getting individual work. So I would sit at a table with them we would do morning meeting. They would have a snack. We would go outside, whatever the day looked like. We did Bible study. I would read to them, read the Bible to them. Then when it was time to do the academics, I would put the kids I would give them Play-Doh with scissors and the kids scissors, or like manipulative all open-ended toys, and I would call them one by one, and they would do a quick little lesson.
Yep.
And then we go back, and that was that. And it was great. And they were growing like leaps and bounds. I had a 3-year-old reading by the end of the year. And there was no pressure on this child. It wasn't like, oh, I can't, I'm going to fail. Like, what does that even mean?
No.
So yeah, it was a beautiful time. And then my husband, for the following year, I had a wait list. And I had the opportunity to get a location across the street from my house. And then my husband got a job in New Jersey.
Okay.
And he was like, we got to move. And I was like, well, you can move. I'm not moving. And he was like, no, we got to go. So we got our house, and we came to New Jersey. And I was like, I am not looking for a job in a public school. That's not what's going to happen. I'm going to create.
You're spoiled. The next question is about the new paths and the new model for Luca's Literacy Lab, which takes you into New Jersey. What does that look like? And then what have you learned from navigating this new path? Because you're thriving in New York. Shout out to you. Thank you. And we all, if anyone who has a family knows moving, adjusting, we know jobs. When we're military spouse, we know orders. You move and you adjust and you adapt, and you still have your children who are just as spoiled as you are. When I say spoiled, they are used to this type of amazing educational opportunity. And as you're both of us are former educators in traditional schools, and we both have. When you leave, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Look, I told somebody, it's like going from the first time you sit in first class on the airplane, and then you want me to sit back. Oh no, I can't go back there. I feel when I left the classroom, we went to a MicroSchool, and now we're working on opening our MicroSchool. I was like, we're still on the plane together. We're still in education. Here, first class or business class. Right. So tell us how are you navigating that?
So initially, it was real hard. It was very hard because I was new and I didn't know anything about New Jersey. I renounced New Jersey. I was like, I would never leave, because I'm born and raised in New York. My whole family is in New York, right? We had a whole, there was nobody in my family or my husband's immediate families that lived more than a 20-minute drive away from us.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Right? So my kids have both sets of grandparents. Everybody in my family is still married. So we got both grandparents over here, both grandparents over there. All of our siblings and their spouses and their children are all a 20-minute drive away from us. We got aunts everywhere, and we have uncle, we got everybody, right? So and before we left New York, my kids they weren't over their medical things. Right? Okay. They had all of their doctors in New York. And then I had a team. I had my people. So anytime I needed anything, I had a list of people that I could call to help me with my children. So that was the biggest thing. I was so nervous that I was going to go it alone as a mother first. Because I was like, my kids, I'm going to make sure that they're good. Right. If it means that I have to open a MicroSchool in 5 years, I'll open the MicroSchool in 5 years. I just got to make sure that my kids are good first. So that was the first thing. So when we came here, I'm Puerto Rican. My husband is Dominican. We're both in our 30s, and we have 2 daughters. One is a teenager and one is now 8. When we moved into this house, on our block are 3 other couples, Puerto Rican and Dominican, with daughters both of our daughters' ages. So this community was like, I was like, how did they figure out that all of us were all gonna want to be in this place? Like, what came first?
I
But when
love
I
it.
got here, I was welcomed by my neighbors, and our kids got along, and they like now like any day of the week you'll see one of those kids here or my kids over there, or like it just became like where I don't have to worry about like, can you watch this one so I could go do that?
Right.
Because I have people.
Right. That support system.
But there was a support system, and yeah, and they're all good people. Like it was good. But then I was like, okay, now I can get into this like creating here. And I started to say to people like, yeah, I'm going to open a school in September. I opened it within the first year of living here. And they were like, huh? You don't
Yeah.
open a school? Like a whole school? It's like if you tell somebody, I feel like it's like if you went up to a person and was like, I'm going to open a bank.
Yeah.
Like that's how they see it. It's like
Yeah.
a school. So it's like I had to do a whole lot of educating.
Yes.
And as you know, like it's not like a building fell out of the sky for me. Like, and this time my husband was really like, you are not touching my house. We're not doing this in the house. Like, no, we did that already. Like, no. And I agreed with him. Right. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find a spot. And I looked for 7 months before I found a spot. And while I was looking, I was tapping into the community. Like, there's a museum down the street that has an open space downstairs. And I wanted to educate people and serve my community and let them know that I was here and I had something to offer. So I'm like, I can host book clubs. I can host, different things. I can host like an art thing. There was so many things I wanted to give them, a podcasting thing. I wanted to give them so much stuff. And everybody shut me down.
Yes.
Everybody closed the doors. Everybody, everywhere that I went, where I was like, you got space? Can I, you know what I mean? Like, can I serve the children here? There's even like a middle school hangout building. Like, it's just for them to hang out. And I was like, hey, can I provide services here? And everybody was like, no, where are you from? What do you, and then they would talk.
People? Like, what?
Right. I never saw you around. I couldn't even I couldn't have conversations where I could pretend to fit in. I couldn't. Because in New Jersey, the way that they talk is just different. Like they would say like
Different than New York.
they would ask me like, oh, they would ask me about a certain town and I'll be like, I've never heard that town about. I don't know. Are you north from here or are you south from here? And I'm like, why are you talking to me in Compass? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm north or that's just not, it's not the way that my husband used to come home and talk to us like that. Like he would say like, oh, I was north today. And I used to be like, why are you saying that you're north? Just tell me what town you're. But that's like a thing. I had to learn. I had to learn that. And so they would talk to me and I just could not, I didn't understand. Mainly when it came to like locations, like they wanted to know like what town I was in, where I was coming from, like what, like, and then they also were like, oh, so you're a teacher. What school do you work in?
Right.
And I was like, oh no, I'm starting a school. And that just like, they were like, no, what do you mean?
And somebody say to me, but you're just a teacher. How do you start a school? And I said, like a broom?
Right.
You do like, and then I'm looking at them like, so you do know that like countries throughout the world,
right?
You can start a school. I say, you're thinking of, do I need like a superintendent or a principal? I don't. I am the superintendent and the principal. Teacher at times. You're right. It's just a mentality shift. So you shifted the minds because I know you did. Because I know you. We were praying, Lord, open the minds.
Yes, please.
And you got there, and
no,
now
I didn't.
You did.
I didn't shift any minds. I had to go find something else. I wasn't able to give like leading up to finding my building. I wasn't able to tap into any municipal buildings at all. Like they didn't want anything to do with me. So I did end up finding a location that I rented that used to be a school, and then I started there.
Yes. So and we in our fellowships we always have that debate of and they always try to tell us you don't need a location. I'm like, when you're dealing with certain parents, and it doesn't. And when I say certain parents, I'm not talking about race or economic status. I'm talking about certain parents. They're like, so where is it located? Which is a legitimate question for parents or guardians or adults that are raising kids. You're starting a school in the park, like what in the
Right.
parking lot? Like where? And I felt some kind of way. It's kind of like you said, opening a bank, or when somebody tells me they started a church, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, we got a tent, and we're gonna put the tent up in the parking lot.
Exactly.
We feel okay. So this
Mhm.
is you, Lucas Literacy Lab, moving across state lines.
Mhm.
Now you have your building. Kids are like, okay, let's go. We can start with some people. And thank you for talking about the hindrances and the hardships. Sometimes when people do stuff, they're like, oh, it's all love and dove and sprinkles and glitter. It's not. It's not. And there are
Mm-mm.
times when we are all crying together on the phone. And we are all like, okay, but I know this is in my heart. And I know
Yeah.
this is what the Lord told me to do.
Right.
And for some reason, sometimes we think it's easy, or we're like, okay, God told me so. I'll be like, you know me, I'll be like, set it up, Lord, pass it, like dribble, dribble,
Right.
pass it. What you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? Why they blocking shots? I'm shooting. And so now you have your spot. And now, who you?
Okay. So you talk about crying. Listen, I don't think I've ever cried for anything more than this journey. I've not, and I remember talking to somebody. I was on some panel and at some conference, and people came to talk to me after, and I was like, they were like, that sounds like it's been really difficult for you. And I'm like, no, I have been in the fetal position, like hysterically crying so much. Like, you don't even understand. They were like, that bad? I'm like, yes, this is not a game. So I get this building. I check with the township to make sure that it's zoned. It was a school already. I signed the lease. I get what I need. I get the building. I have my families. I have everything ready to go. I don't listen. Jesus has he has his hands all over this because I have no idea how I had the money. I don't sometimes I look around at the place and I'm like, where'd this furniture come from? Because how did I get the money to get I have no idea how I did this, but I did, right? Like I figured it out. So I got the place and I furnished it and I got my families are ready. We're doing park days to get ready. We're doing back to school night. Like everything is ready. It's all exciting. It's all good. And I get a call from the township, like, you may not operate there. And I'm like, what? Huh? Initially, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, like, this is just, I'll get over it. Like, we'll figure it out. This is not real. You're not gonna tell me I can't operate. This doesn't make sense. Long story short, very long story short, okay,
Yes.
months and months long story. They said that it was zoned for educational use, but a micro school is not educational. They said educational use. Okay, the culminating meeting that I had with all the township officials, they sat me down and they spoke at me for like an hour. And they said, this is the definition of a private school. This is the definition of a public school. You are neither. You cannot operate here. One of these township officials was like grabbing their forehead and being like, what are you? What is the? I never even heard it. Why are we having this conversation? I'm not going to prove something if I don't know what it is. I had done my due diligence and combed through their regulations and said, so classify me as a child care center because I meet all the criteria as a child care center. So I can operate as a child care center if that's what you want to call it. The attorney in the room, the township attorney was a homeschool dad. And he was like, okay, so you're essentially like a co-op. Yes, I'm like a co-op. And he was the only one who understood what it was. And because he was there, they gave me use approval. But
He was the lawyer.
he was their lawyer. So, okay, this took months of fighting for me to get them to understand. Like, guys, it was like meeting after meeting and calling in like politicians and lawyers and all kinds of stuff just to get them to hear me. By the time I was actually able to start working, I had lost more than half of my enrollment. I had let go all of my teachers.
Yeah.
I still couldn't work out of the building. I was working out of the homes of my children, my students' parents. They had homeschool rooms and they were like, this is the education. We want you to teach our children. We want this education for our children. And your service is not the building. Which was huge for me. For me, I was like, okay, like they get it. They understand. Like they're like, it really isn't. It doesn't matter where you are. Obviously, the children deserve the space. They deserve it. But this community is gonna make it happen regardless. We're gonna make it happen. So we did. So we met in the library. We met in the kids' homes. That was a big thing. I had to get a childcare license. I had to get like fire code. It was a bunch of
Yeah.
drama with this building. It was just terrible. And I cried. I cried every day. Every single day. I was like, I'm holding on by a thread. I don't know if this is going to work or not. But hearing from the families that the service is not the building, I was like, listen, worst case scenario, I lose everything. I have no building. I'm still going to do what I do.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Like, I will find a way to keep this going, to provide this service. It doesn't matter. And I had to just like play that out. Like, okay, what happens? Like, I lose everything. I lose all my money. I lose the building. How's that going to stop me? Right? Because like I did this behind my couch in New York.
I needed to hear that. I don't care nothing about the audience right now. Literally, because I'm sitting here like, don't tear up. We're recording. I needed to hear that part of the story because I had not heard that part of the story.
Mhm.
Where the parents are like, thank you, and
Mhm.
come use this living room.
Yeah.
And thank you, and we cleared out our garage. And
Right.
thank you, we have this homeschool room already. So these next 2 weeks, everybody's coming over and we'll rotate it again. Just thank you.
Mhm.
And I think that's important
Yeah.
for anyone to hear, especially those of us who are starting something new
Mhm.
in education. Any founder, and like I said, being a businesswoman, you're like, if I lose it all,
Mhm.
I'll just rebuild. And one of the things my mom used to say to me, she used to tell me, she was like, now you know what to do. Like
Right.
you've already been through it. And
Yeah.
I was sitting here and I was like, Amanda, and you already speak on panels, I'll be like, you need to get out there. I want you to tell your story. It is important for you to tell your story to encourage people and to
Mhm.
remind people that there's someone that they can go to
Mhm.
as a resource, and y'all do need to pay her. But someone you need to go to resource to be like, hey, I'm in this township, I'm in this city, I'm in
Mhm.
this zone, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to get them to understand. Can you help me? I have a presentation. Can you help me figure out what to say or what did you do? Because I think that's essential. And then one of the things I've learned about us in the MicroSchool, homeschool hub, hybrid, innovative education community is we do not gatekeep.
No, not at all.
We are going to tell, we're going to share,
Ever.
we're going
Oh,
to lead you. We will say, I'm going to send the connecting email. We're
yeah.
going to go to the conference and be like, oh no, let me take a picture and I'm going to send it to them because I met you here. And we're going to meet in Atlanta again. Like, we will not gatekeep because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we want to educate.
Right. It's about them. It's not about us.
I want you to just tell me one piece of advice to give other founders that you're like, this is a solid piece of advice, period. That's it.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you what thus far, because I have a long way to go, right? Um, what has gotten me through everything. Because people will tell you, don't be scared of the problems or don't be afraid to fail. That's impossible. You're gonna be afraid. You will be afraid to fail. Like, I'm afraid every day. I wake up in the morning, every day I wake up and I'm like, what? I'm crazy because it's risky. And it's not risk if you're not afraid of it, right?
Hmm.
But what has helped me is my ability to sit with the problem, to sit with it and be like, what step can I take? If there is a step I can take, then I'm still in the fight. If there is any step I can take, then I am not down. I'm not out. Right. So, for example, when I had the issue with the township, a lot of like after a million different steps, like feeling like I was done, I thought I was done. I didn't even want to go back to my school because I was like, it's painful to look at the place. I went there and I sat in the silence with a pencil and a notebook. And I sat down at the desk where I wanted my kids to work. Number one, I prayed, I played worship music, and then I sat and I just was like, I was out of ideas, but I was like, I'm going to sit here until I come up with an idea. If I don't come up with an idea, then I'm done. But I'm going to sit here until I can come up with something. And it came to me that I had met the there's a candidate running for governor of New Jersey, and I met him in the school choice event in New Jersey the previous year, and he is a big proponent of microschools. So I was like, you know what? Let me just send him an email. That's all I got. I can't think of anything else. I'm just going to send him an email. So I sent this man an email. He put me in contact with this one councilman in particular, who got me every meeting that pushed me through to the other side.
Yeah.
That councilman was there and helped me out. And it was because I was like, every time that there's been a problem, like I feel it, I cry, I get scared, I shut down, and then I get back up and I'm like, if there is one step I could take, I'm gonna take it.
Don't give up. Keep going. I like it. See, it even sound like you were like, let me figure out how to network this system. It's not even the system that I can go to. So
Right.
thank you. All right, we're gonna do this really quick because I'm like, okay. I'm not gonna do controversial corner because I feel like you already went through that. Like
Yeah.
you already went through. People are like, we don't know what a microschool is. Where are you? Child care, health care, no care. We don't know what we're talking about. That's the
Yeah.
controversy of it. I was gonna talk about ESA and vouchers, but I don't want to talk about that because we're gonna go to this thing I call cross. Yep, I got time. All right, we got a little bit of time. Concierge crossroads. This or that. So I'm gonna ask you. You want this or that, and you tell me which one pertains to you or which one you like the best. Okay, all right, here we go. Traditional classroom or hybrid learning?
Hybrid learning, ma'am. You already know.
Standardized tests or portfolios?
Portfolios.
Textbooks or TikTok tutorials?
TikTok tutorials.
STEAM or STEM?
STEAM.
STEAM. Behavior charts or restorative circles?
Restorative circles.
Mentorship or coaching?
Mentorship.
Global projects or local impact?
Local impact. Both, but local impact.
Both? Oh, you can say both. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Both. I get no sleep. Listen, I was up last night till like midnight reading, and then I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym. Both.
Yeah, and I think at a certain point in your life you are. Audio books or podcasts?
Both.
Got you. Sweatsuits and sneakers or blazers and loafers?
Sneakers all day.
There it is. That's it. Thank you so much. I have so much fun, and it lets me know more about people because they're like, no sneakers.
Yes, and hoodies.
And then somebody was like a loafer, but he really like penny loafers. Like, yeah, you put a little penny. Anyway, you changed them. All right, so this is where we come to the part where you close us out. And so this is how we close out really quick. I went to Little Charlotte Baptist Church on Otterdam Road in Jared, Virginia. Shout out 757 and 804. Okay, don't talk about Reverend Jacob Turner Jr. because that was my pastor. He has passed away, but that was my pastor. You'll say nothing about him. Okay. He's from Sussex County. You don't say anything. And you are the guest pastor. You know, the guest pastor, we've already opened doors of the church. You already invited people to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And all of you who believe other things, you've already come anyway because you came to church. It is your job as the guest pastor to give us the encouragement for the rest of the week. So that's what I asked our guests, however you want to deliver it, encourage us for the rest of the week. Because on here, you have people who disrupt, dismantle, and they reimagine education, just like you.
Okay, and you. So I'm going to say that if you are worried about how you are going to tackle any issue, you need to get out of the ego and give it to God, because your life is not yours anyway. It is preordained. The Lord has gone before you. He knows every step. He's going to work everything for the good of those who love him. And it doesn't matter what obstacles get in your way. The township people, they're his kids too. You ask him to talk to your brothers and sisters. The land belongs to him. If he wants you to have it, you're going to have it. The students are his too. So if you ever feel any stress or pain or discomfort, just give it to God. It's all in his hands anyway.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Amanda Lucas, founder of Lucas Literacy Lab, thank you so much for coming on our season 9.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It has been a joy and a wonder.
So
All right,
fun.
guys. See y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you so much.